We got some interesting polling trends in North Carolina. And friend of the show, Matt Taibbi, describes the 2020 Democratic field as a clown car. Let's see if our panel agrees.
We are back with Democratic strategist and council member at large of Montgomery County, Maryland, Will Jawando, and Patrice Onwuka, senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. All right, let's start with North Carolina, actually. This was, Nate Silver was tweeting about this, and I thought it was pretty interesting. If you look at the breakdown of all the polls in North Carolina, which is a Super Tuesday state and one of the larger, more important Super Tuesday states, you've got Biden with a pretty clear lead there. And he's making the case that essentially, look, we focus so much on the early stage, which makes sense because they set the tone for the whole primary. But if you look beyond that to Super Tuesday, you've got Biden in pretty good position in a lot of these Super Tuesday states, many of which are Southern, many of which have a large African-American population. And Will, that's the part that, you know, even as he falls a bit in the polls, he's been pretty resilient and still has a strong lead in these important states.
I think that's right. I think that is the Biden strategy. I mean, I can literally see them saying, just hold on.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Hold
That's
fast.
it. That's
yeah,
it.
and the storm, they're holding the mask. And if he can just get through Iowa, New Hampshire, in Nevada, he's doing pretty well, and get to those South Carolina and get to those Super Tuesday states, I think he has a really plausible shot. And look, I've learned long ago, Nate Silver is pretty good when he knows what he's talking about, and I think that is actually a real shot for him. Yeah. Now, it could fall apart, and you know, he could not get enough money, he could, you know, really not do well in those first three states. But if he can stay in the top three, top two, in a couple of those, I think that's a really plausible outcome.
What do you think, Patrice? Do you think that African-American voters are going to stick by Joe Biden even if he loses Iowa and New Hampshire?
I think they will, particularly the older Black American voters. The younger ones are another story. But do young Black people vote? That's a different question. Or young people vote in general? So
I do.
Well, I think there's an effort to mobilize, certainly, but getting them out on the day of is another story.
Yeah.
What will be interesting is whether Deval Patrick and his jumping into the race is going to have any impact on Blacks. I actually grew up in Massachusetts. That's where I was. That's where I spent a lot of time, and I saw Deval Patrick try to really play more Joe Biden-type role, centrist, claimed or promised tax relief, and actually just delivered increase in sales taxes, increases in cigarette taxes, increases in gasoline taxes. So he's definitely going to play that wolf in sheep's clothing, where he'll come in as the savior and the one that can bridge all the different people together, kind of like Obama, and then turn out to be.
Well, he worked for AmeriQuest and Bain Capital, so I don't know.
You guys have given us a perfect segue to friend of the show, Matt Taibbi, had a great piece in Rolling Stone, which every word should be read by our audience because it's so good. But he says Deval Patrick's candidacy is another chapter in the Democrats' 2020 clown car disaster. And he talks about how Democrats are looking for this Goldilocks candidate, you know, like Pete Buttigieg, only Black, right? And with this one, what he compares Deval Patrick to your Bain Capital point, which is very apt, is like Mitt Romney, only Black. Something that the Democratic primary voters have no interest in, but it shows you how sort of ham-handed the Democratic elites are in thinking about how voters will actually make their selection. Like, oh, well, we like Pete, but he's got no resonance with the Black community. So if we get someone with like this same sort of management consulting and Harvard and whatever background, but this one's Black, maybe Black people will vote for him.
Well, it's really hard for someone like me to watch. You know, I just heard out there they're coming out with the new Blade phone, which is really a touchscreen phone with the flip. So it's like for old people that want the flip phone.
Oh, God, I had that phone.
So did I, but I had it like 15, 20 years ago. And I feel like the Democratic establishment are these people. They're like, I want my flip phone, and I want
to make a touch screen.
It's so profoundly insulting, isn't it, Will? That the idea that we can just take some Wall Street guy just because of the color of his skin, that we can convince these Black voters to back our guy, even though, we love Buttigieg, but we need Buttigieg as Black. I mean, I think it's just so insulting because they made their choice here actually quite clear. They're like, no, we like Joe Biden.
We're good with Joe.
Yeah. And I like Deval Patrick. He's friends with the Obama folks, and I know him. He's a good guy. I just think if he were going to run on his own merits, the time was to get in at the normal time. He thought about it. He should have done that. I just think jumping in now, it's it just doesn't put him in a good position. And it plays to this idea that, oh yeah, we're looking for just the right set of demographics. No, people are engaged, and this is not what they want. And I don't think it's going to go well.
People don't vote that way.
Yeah.
They don't vote. Ask Cory Booker how's that working out. How much Wall Street cash is that guy swimming in for the last 10 years?
He's also a black man, accomplished political leader, and he still has made no headway.
And he's a dud. Same with Kamala Harris. You know, AG, Senator. Well, look at their records. Yeah. Look at their in South Carolina. They got nothing, and there's a reason for that. And I just think that the fact that they would think that they can foist this upon people, just such a profound level of arrogance and misreading of the electorate.
What do you think that Deval's thinking is?
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be able to make the debate.
Your legacy.
He said I think I read some of that article, and I think, or when he announced, and he said that, you know, I have all this respect for the people in the race. They're smart people, but you know, the country is more important. So it's unclear. I think he's just being pushed.
Yeah.
He wanted to run early. He didn't for whatever reason, and now there's the Democratic establishment wheel has said, oh, we're scared. Warren can't win. Buttigieg can't get black people. Biden doesn't have any money. Who's going to be the Who's going to be the candidate?
Right.
And so that's why you're seeing people jump in. The only good thing is at least it's the primary. And we're not having any crazy independent runs.
I'm fine with it, honestly. But I mean, that's what Taibbi says in this piece. He says it's just like you're just watching him about to run into this populist buzzsaw. Like, you know what's going to happen. He releases this video announcement that couldn't be more like pablum, anodyne. I mean, it could be a Pete Buttigieg announcement.
He said we will build as we climb.
Didn't say anything, not one policy, not one thing that would make you say, oh, this is the thing that I've been looking for.
Well, and that's why I call him Obama light. I mean, I certainly know President Obama borrowed his own lines for a speech, but you know, this idea of hope and change, it was great in 2008 and it got people excited, but it's not going to work in 2020.
We got to back it up.
Well, and I don't think he has any sort of policy solutions. When we go back to Massachusetts and his record back in that state, he ran on a lot of promises that were meant to be kind of centrist, almost a little bit right-leaning, because he recognizes that outside of Boston, a lot of the state was very conservative. And so you may see him try to tap into that centrist, maybe lean a little bit right, maybe lean a little bit left in the Democratic primary. I don't think that's going to fly very well.
Bain Capital, Texaco, AmeriQuest. I mean, come on.
And he was a popular governor, has a good esteem, and I just hope that he can get out of this with that.
I don't think so. I think it's very much tarnishing his legacy. But all right, thank you so much to you both. Really
appreciate you.
Next week on Rising, we have all things debate. We're going to have a crew on the ground there for the Debate 5 in Atlanta.
So
and
excited.
Paul Steinhauser, he comes to us live from New Hampshire where the candidate filing deadline looms.
And we'll talk to Taryn Klein. He's got a new poll that says Andrew Yang is showing up strong among college voters. We're going to have live debate coverage, too, for you next week.
That's right.
Super fun. Super excited about that. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you over the weekend with more great content.
See you later.